Okay, question 5. Again, this was an easy question. If I'm honest with you, if you'd revised what a stack is and you are confident with stacks, this is dead simple. The problem is a lot of people have not revised this properly. Okay, so the question is saying you've got an array called numbers. Okay, and top stack stores the index of the next three things. So they're giving you the two key variables. Remember, a stack has the top pointer and has the array that uses. Well, the array is going to be called numbers, and that pointer is called top stack. Okay, they may use different words, guys, so you just have to get used to that. They don't want you memorizing code. Okay, and I've said that to you many times. I've also said to learn the algorithms, do not memorize code. Okay, memorize how they work and then get practicing it, turning it into code. That's how you prepare yourself for these kind of questions. Okay, some of you clearly did that. Some of you are clearly understanding this in that kind of level. Not all of you though, unfortunately. So how do I answer this question? Well, first of all, describe the steps of pop. Well, what does pop do? Well, the first thing it needs to do is do that kind of sanity check. Is there anything in the stack? So it needs to do a check. Okay, and it checks to see whether the queue is empty or not. And if it's empty, it's going to be able to return a value. Okay, and that value or return is it might return false, or so it might return false. So it might return false or give you an error message or something like that. Now, straight away, guys, that error check is something we've done in class a lot. It's part of the algorithm behind it, and that essentially has given you 2 marks. Okay, 1 mark for doing the saying it's got a check. 1 mark for saying it returns false, gives you an error message. It doesn't really matter exactly how you say that, as long as you are saying it checks if it's empty, and if it is empty, something happens as a result of that. Okay, returns false, returns an error, says error, doesn't allow you to remove anything. You get the idea. Then there's 2 others. Okay, what you need to do is it doesn't necessarily say where the top pointer is pointing. It says top left stores the index of the next free space. Okay, so that's going to be pointing to empty. Okay, therefore what we need to do first is take away 1 from the top stack. Then we return the value in the stack. Turn the value in numbers at that position. Now, it's okay if you start talking about temporary variables here and said, okay, I'll store that in temporary value and then return that temporary value. You don't need to. Okay, you can just simply decrement it, return it. Okay, that needs to be done in words. Okay, in order to get the marks. I personally, if I was doing this, I'd bullet point this, because when I write my algorithms down in English, I always bullet points, because that's how my brain works. That's how I taught it to you. It should be how your notes are. Therefore, your answer should look like that too. Bullet point, guys. Bullet point this. This is so much easier if you bullet point. Now, this question, this wasn't too bad. I just want to kind of go through a few things. Now, first of all, read the question. Please read the question. It says the function push inserts a parameter called data value. So guess what goes here? Okay, drum roll, data value. Okay, because it's the parameter. Some of you wrote nonsense here and lost an easy mark. It literally tells you, for those of you who are wise enough to read the question, what to do. Okay, so then it says if something is not equal to 100. So this is clearly returning false if there is an error. Okay, i.e. this stack is full. Well, how do I know if the stack's full? Well, there's going to be something moving up the stack, a pointer, top maybe. Now, only if I can remember what they called the pointer is. Oh yeah, it's top stack, wasn't it? Of course it was. Top stack. I mean, let's be blunt, it says it there as well. So it's top stack. Some of you wrote len here, len of numbers. Well, the length numbers is 100 because there's 100 spaces. Why would I be comparing the 100 to 100? Because that clearly is not logical. So top stack is the right answer here. Then, how do we put something into it? Well, we're going to put the value into top stack. Now, if you remember, part A said top stack points to, again, drum roll, the next free space. Therefore, I'm not adding or subtracting anything here. It's just top stack again. Okay. Now, if I know my algorithms really well, and I've revised how this works, and I've practiced writing this into code, that should be fairly easy. Okay. If you memorize the code, then you're more likely to write something that's wrong. Then, well, how does top stack change each time? Well, we know that because it's always going to be by 1. 4 marks. 4 easy marks, guys. Okay. Do make sure you read these questions really carefully, because a lot of you are losing simple marks for not reading the question. Okay. There's going to be a theme in my feedback, by the way, because that's pretty much the theme of the paper. Then, now it says write an algorithm using pseudocode or program code, i.e. you can write this in Python. However, it needs to be correct Python. Okay, I'm going to make that really clear because some of you wrote nonsense. To call the function push. Okay, some of you, I don't know why, started writing functions here. Okay, calling a function means using it. Okay, we have used that terminology in class. In fact, I will always say call a function when I'm teaching it to you guys. That's how most people that I have ever heard talk about functions will talk about it. So if you go onto videos on the internet, they'll all be talking about calling functions. So we call a function to use it. Okay. Now, how do we call a function? Well, we put its name down. Okay. Now, so we're going to call the function push. Well, that was the one from the previous question, wasn't it? And if you remember, it returned a value because it's a function. Functions return values. Okay. Now, golden rule. Okay. If you learn nothing from what I've been talking about, learn this, please. Okay. If I have a function and I use it, I call it, I must do something with the results. Okay. Now, to be really easy, I maybe put this into a variable. Good answer. I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. You don't get marked down for using it. And then it says to push with a value of 15. Well, we know push will look like that. Ignore my handwriting. And then it's got the value of 15. Some of you went def push 15. No, that's not how we write a function, because we're calling a function. That it really does show a lack of revision on using functions and functions in general. Okay, for those who did not just automatically do that. For those who did this one, I mean, this is one of those ones you've got full marks or no marks on this one. There's very little in between. Then, well, what do I need to do? Well, I've got a variable called r, and I need to then see whether the push was successful. Remember, it returns true and false. So if. Now, I could just go if r. That works in Python, most languages, because r is going to be true and false. Okay, it's a boolean. Okay, it will take part of that kind of logical expression, won't it? Or I can just go if r is equal to true. Okay, doesn't really matter. It's Python code, so I'm going to put a colon. Then what I'm going to do, I'll go print added. Okay, that shows that I've added. Oh, my handwriting is terrible on the mouse. I'm using a trackball, by the way, which is why it's rubbish. Then I've got my else. You can do an elif here, but why would you? Because it's just the two values. Okay, and then I can go print not added. So if you worked out that calling a function is using a function, and you started your question off with the push 15 part because you recognize I'm using the function, I've got that value of 15, and you know output is not print, is not return, okay, in this context, because at no point it's asking me to write a function. It said write an algorithm. If it wants you to write a function, it will say write a function. Okay, can I repeat that? If it wants you to write a function, it will say write a function. That was basically the key mistake is misreading the question. Okay.